If you're looking for a vehicle to match the adventurous lifestyle that you claim on your Hinge profile, you've probably come across two vehicles, the 100 series and the 80 series, both of which have their pros and cons. And today we're going to be going over which ones we think are worth it, best value, and people's choice.
I guess first we can start with the 100 series and some of the exterior features that you get. For the most part, the 100 series has pretty subdued looks. It looks kind of like a bloated Highlander, but the thing is that on the trails, it looks kind of out of the element.
Yeah, you look like you got lost on your way to soccer practice.
Yeah, you know, got lost on the way to pick up the kids from school and that kind of thing.
It was a shortcut that went wrong, so.
Yeah, and it doesn't have any features that really dates it. The one polarizing feature would be the headlights on the LX470. That is a design that people either love it or hate it, and personally, I kind of like it now.
The 80 series, though, I think really has it beat in the adventure off-road rugged department. There's no mistaking it on the trail for what it is, or even on the road. People know when they see this means business off-road. Really, there's nothing much to say about the exterior because it really speaks for itself. On the outside, you have some of these safari windows, which are actually really cool. You get a lot of airflow through them in the summertime, and I actually use them.
Whereas on the 100 series, you only get the tilt windows on the back that vent.
But because it's luxury, they're electric.
Yeah.
You got to use your finger strength for these.
The interior on the 100 series varies a little bit depending on which model that you get. So for instance, the Land Cruiser can be a little bit more truck-like from the early 2000s, whereas the Lexus version is a bit more refined. And personally, I would spring for the Lexus version. It's a lot nicer on the eyes.
You get real wood trim, leather, and they're allegedly quieter.
Yeah. The biggest benefit, I think, would be the gauge cluster. The gauge cluster is really nice. The one on the Land Cruiser is just very
2000s Toyota truck. Whereas the 80 series, the key word here is, again, utilitarian and rugged. The inside is just a 90s Toyota truck. Being that this one is a 91, the FJ80, there were a couple of changes throughout the years. The early ones actually had, I think, the coolest looking dashes where everything is kind of driver focused. I think it looks pretty cool. But on the inside, you get cloth, you get plastic, all the best synthetics you can find. In terms of interior quality, it's pretty high, right? Like the seats in this are actually really relatively comfortable for what they are, for truck seats. Having been in this for long road trips up and down the East Coast, I'm surprised they're even as comfortable as they are.
Yeah, I don't hate myself when I sit in it.
Yeah, so that's a pretty good metric. And everything in here is physical, right? You got physical buttons, you got physical levers and controls. There's no mistaking what action you're doing, and everything's organized like a 90s Toyota truck. So it all makes sense.
Yeah, for the 100 series, you're right on the cusp of modern technology, so you still have a bunch of physical buttons and knobs, but the one thing that really dates the interior is the infotainment system.
Yeah.
That is ancient compared to the stuff
I don't even know,
today.
Can you even update the GPS on it?
Allegedly, you can update it by inserting a new DVD into it.
What's a DVD?
Yeah. Seats-wise, the seats are very comfortable. You get heated seats in the front. 100 series has dual-zone climate control, so the people in the back can adjust their own climate, their own temperatures and fan speed and stuff.
The rear passengers here, they get one little rear heater that's under actually the front passenger seat, and they have to share it. So, but they don't even get to control it either. That's up to me if they get to have warm feet or not. But otherwise, they have somewhere to sit with some pretty decent leg and headroom.
Yeah.
So both of us have had all of our friends piled into each one of these, and we've actually asked them, rate your experience, and they said not bad for both of them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, given what this is, I think that's a pretty good standard.
And you get plenty of cargo space in the back. The rear seats are removable, so you can get even more space, which is pretty helpful. And the middle row of seats fold down, so you can fit even more stuff.
Yeah, same story back here as well. These seats fold up. I think there's a little bit more space between the folded up third row than in the 100 series. But again, the seats are removable and they're pretty straightforward to put in and out. So it's not that big of a deal. If your adventurous lifestyle requires you to go out in the gnarliest terrain and conquer the craziest trails with a rock crawling rig that you're building up, then the 80 series is a great platform for it. However, I was actually very surprised with the capabilities of the 100 series, given that a lot of 80 series owners just kind of write these off because they have the independent front suspension.
Yeah, the truck is still very capable and you still have a good amount of ground clearance, especially if you took off the running boards. Those are a low-hanging fruit that will get crunched. But the big thing is that this truck is in stock configuration, and in order to actually get it to the capability that the 80 series has in its stock configuration, you would really require a lift and bigger tires. You have to throw a bit more money at it, whereas that out of the box is already really capable. So
really, it just comes down to the amount of articulation and traction that you get with the solid front axle in this. There are a couple instances when we took these off-road. The 8-track was actually working really hard on this one to keep traction and get him up the trail. However, with this, I could still be in 4 high and just tractor up the obstacle.
Well, so, keeping all 4 wheels on the ground.
Yeah, a lot more forgiving as well. If you choose the wrong line and the trail is not that difficult, then you can just kind of do whatever.
Whereas you have to be a bit more precise with your lines on this, especially in the stock configuration.
But at least overall, here in Virginia, for any real trails that there are, I don't think there's anything the 100 series can't conquer.
Yeah.
Right? Like, as long as you're not rock crawling.
Yeah.
And even then this won't do any good.
Exactly. Obviously, like a basic upgrade would just be wheels and tires.
Yeah.
For this.
Now, this truck actually has the KO2s on it and 33-inch tires. The 33s are a slight upgrade to the original size.
And this just has the stock size tires, which are about a 31.5-inch. And I currently have my winter set of tires on here.
Yeah.
Being from New England.
You're also stuck at the medium ride height setting as well because your AHC was disabled.
Yes, my AHC was disabled, so I now have actually like the stock Land Cruiser suspension, so springs and struts. That seems to work pretty well.
Whereas this, I just have the KYB gas adjust shocks. I think they do pretty well off-road and pretty comfortable on-road as well.
Speaking of on-road performance, this is where the 100 series really shines. It is a luxury SUV and it rides like one. I can drive this at 80 miles an hour down the highway for multiple hours, which is what I do.
You've put on how many miles since you've owned it?
I've put about 20,000 miles on it.
Yeah.
Most of it being highway.
We've put about 10,000 miles on this rig. It's not nearly as comfortable. This was NVH was kind of an afterthought, but it's doable. I mean, this went up and down the East Coast and, you know, it's a truck. It drives like a truck, and that's all I can really say for it.
Yeah, because the AHC was disabled, this rides a bit more truck-like, but if you have a Lexus LX470 and you still have the hydraulic suspension, then it rides like a cloud, and it's amazing on road.
Yeah.
Fuel economy is not that great for either of these. Realistically, I get about 15-ish highway and like 13 city. Cruising down the highway on this, you're not going to be doing the EPA 55 miles an hour. You're going to be doing 75 plus. So that's what I get, the 15-ish. But it does it all day. You can do it all day long.
But it's comfortable. Yeah. And this, on the other hand, I think I average like 12 city and 14 highway. Taking it up to New Hampshire, I think we got about 14, which I was pretty impressed with. Now, you can't nearly push the pace as fast as you can in that. And given that this is the FJ80 with the 3FE, you're using all 155 horsepower in this thing. Hills can be an issue. You may want to plan ahead who you're going to pass before the hill starts. I mean, besides that, like, your foot's to the floor and you're just going to keep it there up the hill. I live with it and I recognize a truck for what it is. It's just a slow vehicle and it'll get there.
You'll just have to work around its limitations. This being a 06 model, It comes with the upgraded V8 with the variable valve timing, so you get an extra 40 horsepower compared to the standard 98 up to 05 100 series. Brings the total power to about a 280 horsepower, which is respectable, and it scoots pretty well.
Yeah. Even the 93 to 97 FZJ80s, I did a whole video on the differences. The fuel economy is not any better with those, and they are still slow. People still complain about them. If you can find one for a good price, you know, maybe opt for that, because it does have some more safety features and airbags, ABS, you know, that kind of stuff. But then again, you have to also realize that they're still slow. And, you know, if a lot of people talk about V8 swaps in these, like, oh, well, that'd be cool to have or whatever. It's like, just get the 100 series.
Yeah.
If you're going to be
the
V8
problem's
swapping,
already been solved.
Yeah, the problem's been solved. Toyota came out with the update in 98. Just get a 100 series.
In terms of towing capacity, the rated towing capacity for this is 6,500 pounds, and I've about maxed out the towing capacity on this. The big upgrade that I made for towing was rear airbags, and that helps keep the truck level.
This truck maxes out allegedly at like 5,500 pounds. You can do it. I think when we were coming back down from New Hampshire, we had a trailer with 3 dirt bikes in it, tools, spares,
equipment,
like,
and stuff.
Yeah, so much garage equipment. The whole back end of this was also full. And we averaged, what, 8.5 miles to the gallon?
Yeah, it was rough.
It was bad for a 600-mile trip. With that being said, it did tow it, and it was actually comfortable towing.
The truck was still stable and still really level.
And you could still stop?
And I could stop. But where it really lacks for the towing is just the power. It just doesn't have the power to tow heavy loads.
Yeah.
Whereas this, the 280 horsepower, is more than enough to tow a car.
And you can accelerate uphill.
Yep. So
that's pretty impressive.
I've towed 80s shitbox Nissans with this. So a 88 Pathfinder and an 86 300ZX twice. And it works really well with both of those.
Yeah. So we've only towed utility trailers, dirt bikes with this guy. So, but it works. If you needed to tow something, if you have a small camper, I don't know why you would, because you can just live in the back of this, but you could tow it. It's not a big deal. So David, you put about 20,000 miles on this truck. How has this maintenance been? How many miles did you buy it with?
I bought the truck with 145,000 miles. It's now sitting at 167,000 and going up. And in that time, the only thing that's kind of left me stranded was the alternator died while I was going down the highway. But thankfully, I made it back home. So that's the only thing that has been kind of like a showstopper. Everything else has been kind of routine maintenance and some of the common problems that these 100 series experience. So,
and it had all of them.
And it has all of them. So for example, the steering racks tend to go bad. So the one was replaced when I bought it. The exhaust manifolds are cracked on this. So we'll have a pretty big exhaust leak on startup.
Yeah.
When it warms up, it tends to go away, but now it's at that time.
It's pretty consistent.
It's pretty consistent. Heater hose tees are plastic, and they tend to be very brittle.
That was an issue.
That was an issue on this, so I replaced it with a metal unit. The AHC system has been replaced. That's only specific to the Lexus models. So if you still have the AHC, then you should take care of it while it lasts. But people swap over the Land Cruiser suspension pretty easily.
Yeah, it's a bolt-in.
Yeah.
Maintenance wise for this, in about 10,000 miles, we did a laundry list of items. However, I will say that because this truck was a basket case when we got it, it had sat for many years, it had been abused, it was kind of rusty. This truck actually has bullet holes in it. You know, we ended up replacing fuel tank, fuel pump, fuel filter, actually every single filter, every single oil fluid. It had a diff rebuild in the front because the previous owners ran it dry. The transfer case oil was ran dry, and now there's an output bearing that's screaming for the sweet release of death.
With custom brake lines.
Yeah, we had to do custom brake lines because of the rust. We made our own brakes all around. I think the only thing that actually broke while I was driving it or things that got worse were the rear axle seal on this side left a very nice puddle in my driveway, and the alternator again, died. But this truck had 200 to 1,000 rough miles on it, and now it's sitting at just under 212,000. So I think it's kind of what you expect. These are now at the age where if they were abused, you're looking at practically a full restoration to do.
Yeah.
Right? And if you even bring this into a Land Cruiser shop, it's going to be a boat every single time they call you, right? Bring out another 1,000 because it's going to be expensive.
It's going to be, while we're in there, we might as well replace this.
Yeah. If you can't do your own work, maybe find something else. Now, these are Toyotas, right? So they are reliable. I think the great thing about the 80 series Land Cruiser is that nothing really breaks. It all just goes out of spec until it becomes dangerous to drive. So, for example, steering components or stuff like that, like I haven't had anything just break outright.
Kind of the same story with the Lexus. I've done some other just maintenance items, kind of things that you would expect to eventually go wrong that you'd have to fix later up, over time. So things like wheel bearings and brakes. I did have a caliper lock up on me, but that was replaced easily. Again, the 100 series Land Cruiser is now also kind of approaching that age where there's a lot of rough examples out there. You'd be paying a premium for a really nice one that's actually been maintained regularly.
Also, make sure you find one where people have already done the big ticket items, like the steering rack, timing belt, wheel bearings or something like that. You had to do wheel bearings on yours.
Yeah.
Actually twice because the first shop messed it up.
Yeah, first shop messed it up and then it had to be redone within 10,000 miles.
Yeah.
So relatively trouble-free for the most part. Again, the great thing about the Toyotas is that you can go into any Toyota dealership and they'll work with you.
Yeah.
So the 100 series has a lot going for it. It's better on road. It's a newer vehicle in the beginning. It's got more power, better towing. Safer. You have ABS, traction control, airbags. It's just a nicer vehicle to be in and live with every day.
But this is better off-road. So as you can see, it's about neck and neck for which one's better. Yeah. Now, in my case, what I'm looking for, I have a family, dog, kid, right? So maybe I should really be looking for a 100 series.
I'm a single guy with no family to take care of. I should really be looking at that 80 series.
Well, yeah, but overall, I think at this point, the 80 series is really just a toy. I don't really want to, admit it, but there's no real reason to have one. There's better trucks out there like the 100 series, and the prices that people are asking, like pre-COVID, these trucks were relatively cheap, like under 10,000 for good examples. And now you're looking at like high teens in the 20s, right?
For like a nice one? For
a nice one. Let's say you get the Lexus, like the LX470, right? Like it's just a 90s Toyota with leather.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's nice, but they're dated but there is a certain cool factor and you do have to pay for that cool factor. You can find rough examples of the 80 series and the FJ80s maybe in like the 5,000, in the 5,000 to 7,000 range, right? This one we actually bought for what, 1,300 non-running. Yeah, and it took I think like $5,000 in parts to get it up and running now. So, and you can see that the paint is rough, there is some rust issues on it, but at this point it's like the truck runs, it's good, and I really enjoy it. So I'll keep putting money into it.
Yeah, whereas for the 100 series, if you can find like an early Land Cruiser, pre-06 and 07, these are actually relatively affordable for ones that are in decent condition.
I've seen them like under 10.
Yeah. So with all the extra features that you get in terms of safety, reliability, all that kind of stuff, then I would spring for the 100 series almost every day.
Yeah. I mean, dare I say, these are antiquated.
Well, if you enjoyed the video...
or if you want some more thoughts on it, if you think that we didn't say something that should have been said, then go ahead, drop a comment on what we missed.
Or if you want to see more videos on the 100 series, go ahead and let me know.
Yeah. There's more stuff to talk about.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Yeah. Like, comment, subscribe.